The champagne cork exploded across our bedroom ceiling at 11:38 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I should have known right then that something was wrong. My wife Emily didn't drink on weeknights. Ever. But there she was, laughing like a teenager, her auburn hair wild around her shoulders, waving a bottle of Dom Perignon that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. "We did it, David. We actually did it." She threw her arms around my neck, and I caught the unfamiliar scent of expensive cologne, mixed with her usual jasmine perfume. "Did what?" I asked, steadying her. We'd been married for 11 years, and I'd never seen her this animated about work. "The Riverside account. $3 million, baby. Biggest deal in the firm's history." She pulled back, her green eyes glittering with something I couldn't quite identify. "And guess who's getting promoted to senior vice president?" I should have been happy. God knows we needed the money. Our daughter Lily's orthodontist bills were piling up, and the roof needed replacing before winter. But standing there in our modest bedroom in suburban Ohio, watching my wife of 11 years bounce around like she'd won the lottery, all I felt was a cold knot forming in my stomach. "That's amazing, Em. When did you find out?" "This afternoon. We celebrated at the office." She turned away, fumbling with the champagne bottle. "Lost track of time. Sorry I'm so late." It was almost midnight. Her text had said she'd be home by 8. 4 hours to celebrate? You know how it is. She waved her hand dismissively, finally pouring 2 glasses. The champagne fizzed and sparkled, just like her eyes. Just like her whole demeanor lately. These things run long. Networking, schmoozing clients. It's all part of the game now. I took the glass she offered, but didn't drink. Who else was there? Oh, the usual suspects. Karen from accounting, Tom, Bradley. She rattled off names, taking a long sip. And of course, Justin. He's the one who really pushed for me to get this promotion. Justin Hartwell, her new boss. The 42-year-old divorced VP who joined the firm 6 months ago. She'd mentioned him exactly 17 times in the past week. Yes, I'd been counting. "That's great," I said, my voice flat. Emily's smile faltered for just a second. "You don't sound excited." "I am. It's just late, and I have surgery at 6 a.m. I'm a veterinarian, not the high-powered corporate type like Emily had become. We used to joke about it. Her in her power suits, me with dog hair on my scrubs. But lately the jokes had stopped. Lately she looked at my profession like it was something quaint and small. "Right, surgery. On someone's cat, I assume?" There was an edge to her voice I'd been hearing more often. "A German shepherd with a torn ACL, actually. The Peterson's dog. You met him at the barbecue last summer." She'd already lost interest, typing something on her phone, her thumbs flying across the screen. A smile played at her lips. "Who are you texting?" "Just Karen. She wants to grab lunch tomorrow to discuss the promotion details." She set the phone face down on the dresser. That was new too. Emily had never been secretive about her phone before. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But I'd been a veterinarian for 15 years, and I'd learned to trust my instincts. When something was wrong with an animal, you could feel it before you could prove it. The same applied to marriages, apparently. "I'm going to bed," I said, setting down my untouched champagne. "Congratulations again, Em. You deserve it." She caught my arm as I passed. "David, wait. I know I've been working a lot lately. But this promotion, it changes everything for us. Lily's college fund, that vacation to Hawaii we've been talking about, maybe even a bigger house." "We don't need a bigger house." "I do." The words came out sharp, Then she softened them with a smile. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have more space? You could have a real home office instead of working at the kitchen table. I looked at her, really looked at her. When had she started wearing makeup to bed? When had she started sleeping in silk instead of my old college t-shirts? When had my wife become this stranger standing in front of me? Get some sleep, I said quietly. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But we wouldn't. We both knew it. I lay awake that night, listening to Emily shower for the second time that day. Through the bathroom door, I heard her humming, some song I didn't recognize. When she finally came to bed, she stayed on her side, her back to me, her phone clutched in her hand under her pillow. I could see the faint glow of the screen beneath the covers. At 2:17 a.m., her phone buzzed, then again at 2:19, and once more at 2:23. Emily giggled softly, typing responses in the dark. That's when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. My wife was having an affair. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 11 years of marriage. I called in my associate to cover my surgeries and followed Emily to work. I followed her white Lexus from 3 cars back, my veterinary clinic van blending into morning traffic. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, painting the highway in shades of gray that matched my stomach's churning uncertainty. Emily didn't go to her office. She took the exit for Riverside Park, the sprawling nature preserve on the city's north side. At 7:15 in the morning, I pulled into a spot near the visitor center, watching her park near the western trailhead. She checked her phone, reapplied lipstick in the rearview mirror, then stepped out wearing athletic clothes I'd never seen before. Expensive leggings and a fitted jacket that probably cost more than my work boots. A silver BMW pulled up 2 spots away. Justin Hartwell emerged. I recognized him from the company website I'd looked up at 3 a.m. while Emily slept. Tall, silver-haired, wearing running gear that looked professionally coordinated. He didn't look 42. He looked like someone who had a personal trainer and a standing appointment for hair highlights. They didn't hug. Smart. But Emily's face transformed when she saw him. The same expression she used to give me when I'd surprise her with coffee during her college finals. They started walking together down the Oak Trail. Not jogging, walking. I waited 60 seconds, then followed. The trail wound through dense woods and I kept my distance, staying just close enough to see Emily's white blonde ponytail bobbing ahead. They walked close together, shoulders touching. Her laugh carried back through the trees, bright, unguarded, nothing like the distracted sound she made at home anymore. After 20 minutes, they veered off onto a smaller path. I knew this park. I'd brought Lily here for nature walks when she was younger, before Emily's career consumed our weekends. This trail led to a clearing overlooking the river. I moved carefully through the underbrush, staying off the path. They sat on a bench in the clearing, and Justin pulled out a thermos. Coffee, probably. Emily leaned against his shoulder while they watched the sunrise paint the water golden pink. I can't believe we've been doing this for 4 months, Emily said. Her voice carried clearly in the morning stillness. 4 months. Not 6. The affair started 2 months after Justin arrived. Best part of my day, Justin said. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Though last night was pretty spectacular too. My hands clenched. Last night. While I'd been home watching television, waiting for her to come back from her client dinner, I felt terrible lying to David about the celebration. Emily's voice held no remorse that I could detect. But I couldn't exactly tell him I was at your condo, could I? You're going to have to tell him eventually. Justin's tone was gentle, We can't keep this up forever. I know, Emily sighed. I just need to wait for the right moment. Maybe after my bonus comes through, I'll need that money for the divorce lawyer. The word hit me like a physical blow. Divorce. She'd already decided. What about your daughter? Justin asked. Lily will adjust. Kids are resilient. Emily's dismissive tone made my chest tighten. And honestly, David's better with her anyway. He can have primary custody. I'll take every other weekend. Every other weekend. She'd already divided up our daughter like a quarterly earnings report. They sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee, his arm around her shoulders. Then Emily checked her watch. I should get to the office. I have that conference call at 9. Same time tomorrow? Justin asked. Wouldn't miss it. They kissed, long, comfortable, practiced, before walking back toward the parking lot. I stayed hidden until their footsteps faded, then sat down hard on a fallen log. My phone buzzed. Emily. Running late. Morning meeting got moved up. Can you take Lily to school? I stared at the text. The casual lie. The assumption I'd cover for her while she destroyed our family. I drove to my clinic in a fog. My assistant, Rebecca, took one look at my face and quietly rescheduled my morning appointments. I sat in my office, staring at the wall where Lily's crayon drawing hung. Our family as stick figures, holding hands under a smiling sun. At noon, I called a lawyer. Not for divorce, not yet. I need to understand my options, I told him. If my wife is having an affair, how does that affect custody? Asset division? Attorney James Brennan had handled my business partner's divorce 3 years ago. He listened while I explained everything. The promotion, the late nights, this morning's park meeting. Ohio is a no-fault divorce state, he said. The affair itself won't necessarily impact asset division, but it could affect custody if you can prove she's prioritizing the relationship over parenting responsibilities. I'd recommend documenting everything. Dates, times, any conversations about custody arrangements you overhear. She said she only wants Lily every other weekend. Brennan's pause was significant. If she's willing to state that in mediation, it strengthens your position considerably. Keep records, screenshots of texts, a journal of her absences. I started that afternoon. Opened a password-protected document and began typing everything I remembered from the past 6 months. Every late night. Every dismissive comment about my career. Every time she'd missed Lily's soccer games or parent-teacher conferences. The pattern was damning. That evening, Emily came home at 7 with takeout Chinese food and a distracted smile. How was your day? She asked, serving herself fried rice. Fine. Routine surgeries. You? Exhausting, back-to-back meetings. She checked her phone. I need to do some work emails after dinner. Lily talked about her science project, something about photosynthesis and bean plants. Emily nodded in the right places, but her eyes kept drifting to her phone screen. Mom, are you listening? Lily asked. Of course, sweetie. Beans and sunlight. Sounds great. Emily stood up. I really need to take this call. Work emergency. She disappeared into our bedroom. Through the door, I heard her voice, soft, intimate, nothing like her professional tone. Lily looked at me. Is Mom okay? She's been weird lately. Just stressed about work, I said. The lie tasted bitter. Dad? Lily's voice was small. Are you and Mom going to get divorced? My heart stopped. Why would you ask that? Jessica's parents got divorced last year. Her mom was always on the phone too, and they stopped eating dinner together. I pulled my daughter close. Whatever happens, you'll always be the most important thing to both of us. Okay? She nodded against my shoulder, but I felt her tears soaking through my shirt. That night, Emily fell asleep quickly, her phone charging on the nightstand. I waited until her breathing deepened, then carefully picked up her phone. I knew her passcode. She'd never changed it from our anniversary. The messages with Justin went back 4 months, just as she'd said. Hundreds of them. Good morning texts with heart emojis. Photos of coffee cups and sunset views from his condo. Plans for their morning walks. Complaints about me. David's so boring lately. All he talks about is sick animals and bills. Can't wait until I can wake up next to you every morning instead of him. Told him I was working late. He believed it immediately. I don't think he even cares anymore. That last one made me close the phone. She thought I didn't care. While I'd been trying to give her space to succeed, she'd interpreted my support as indifference. Or maybe that was just her justification. I took screenshots of everything, emailing them to a new private account I'd created. Then I put her phone back exactly where she'd left it. In the darkness, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her yet. I'd document everything, protect Lily, and prepare. When Emily finally worked up the courage to ask for her divorce, I'd be ready. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. The next morning, I followed her again. The dog-walking business idea came to me while I was reading through Emily's text messages for the 3rd time that week. I'd been sitting in my truck outside the clinic during lunch, scrolling through the screenshots I'd saved, when I noticed a pattern I'd missed before. Emily had mentioned to Justin that she needed a cover story for their afternoon meetings, something that would explain her absence, generate some income to make it look legitimate, and give her an excuse to be unreachable for hours at a time. What about a side business? She'd texted. Something flexible. Dog walking, maybe? I could say I'm building it up. Perfect, Justin had replied. You could walk dogs every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. I'll be your only client. We'll call it market research. They'd actually laughed about it, emoji and all. I sat there in the parking lot staring at my phone screen, and something cold settled in my chest. She'd actually done it. 2 weeks after that conversation, Emily had registered Paws and Paths Dog Walking Service as an LLC. I'd seen the paperwork on her desk at home, mixed in with her work documents. She'd even had business cards printed. I'd asked her about it at dinner one night. Casual. Interested. Oh, it's just a little side project, she'd said, not quite meeting my eyes. Something to keep me active, you know? Get out of the office. I've always loved dogs. We didn't own a dog. We'd never owned a dog. Emily had refused every time Lily asked for one, citing allergies that somehow never manifested around other people's pets. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Emily had been leaving the house every Tuesday and Thursday at 1:30 p.m., wearing athletic clothes and carrying a tote bag with water bottles and dog treats. She'd return around 5, sometimes 5:30, slightly disheveled and smelling like grass and that same expensive cologne. No dogs, no leashes, no actual clients. Just Justin. I verified it the following Tuesday. I'd told the clinic I had a family emergency and left at 1 p.m. Emily's car was still in our driveway when I passed the house. I parked 3 blocks away and waited. At 1:20, she emerged wearing yoga pants and a fitted jacket I'd never seen before. She threw her tote bag in the passenger seat and drove toward downtown. I followed at a distance, my veterinarian's steady hands surprisingly calm on the steering wheel. She didn't go to anyone's house, didn't stop at a pet store or a residential neighborhood. She drove straight to Riverside Park, the same place where I'd watched her meet Justin for their morning coffee 3 weeks earlier. She parked in the west lot, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the interior trails. I gave her a 2-minute head start, then followed on foot. The park was busy for a Tuesday afternoon. Joggers, actual dog walkers, mothers with strollers. I kept my distance, staying on parallel paths when I could, ducking behind trees when the trail opened up. Emily walked with purpose, checking her phone twice until she reached a fork in the path. She took the left branch, the one that led toward the more secluded areas near the creek. Justin was waiting on a bench near the water. He stood when he saw her, and they embraced. Not a professional hug, not a friendly greeting. His hands slid down her back and rested just above her waist. She tilted her face up toward his. I looked away, focused on a nearby tree trunk until my vision cleared. They walked together along the creek path, his arm around her shoulders. I followed at a distance using the thick vegetation as cover. They were talking, laughing. Emily's voice carried across the water, bright and animated in a way I hadn't heard in months. After about 10 minutes, they left the main path entirely, cutting through a gap in the bushes that I would have missed if I hadn't been watching. I waited 30 seconds, then followed. The gap led to a small clearing, hidden from the main trails by dense foliage. Someone had been here before. There was a flattened area in the grass, evidence of repeated use. Justin had spread out a blanket. Emily was already sitting down, pulling items from her tote bag. Wine glasses. A bottle of something that caught the light. Cheese and crackers on a small cutting board. A picnic. They were having a picnic. No dogs, no leashes, no clients, just the two of them, in their secret clearing, on company time. While I was supposed to be at work saving people's pets and she was supposed to be building a legitimate business. I took photos, dozens of them. The clearing, the blanket, the wine, their faces as they talked and laughed and fed each other cheese like they were in some romantic movie. I made sure to capture the timestamp on each one, the metadata that would prove when and where these photos were taken. They stayed for 90 minutes. I stayed the entire time, crouched behind a fallen log, my knees aching and my phone filling up with evidence. When they finally packed up and left, walking back to the main trail with their arms around each other, I waited until they were out of sight before I moved. My legs had gone numb. I had to lean against a tree for a moment, letting the blood flow return, letting the reality of what I'd just witnessed settle into my bones. Emily had created an entire fake business as a cover for her affair. She'd filed paperwork, printed business cards, bought props. She'd lied to my face about loving dogs, about wanting to be active, about building something meaningful. And Justin was paying her. I'd seen the Venmo transactions when I'd checked her phone last week. $200 every Tuesday and Thursday, labeled dog walking services. He was literally paying my wife to meet him in the park for romantic dates. The rage I'd been keeping carefully controlled for weeks surged up, hot and bitter. I'd been documenting, planning, staying strategic like James Brennan had advised. But this calculated deception, this elaborate fiction, felt like a different level of betrayal. I drove home in a fog, my mind racing through possibilities. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I knew what I was going to do. The first fake advertisement went up on Thursday morning. I'd created a new email address, something generic and untraceable, and posted to every local community board, pet owner forum, and neighborhood Facebook group I could find. Paws and Paths. Dog walking service. Special services available. Tired of traditional dog walking? We offer unique experiences for discerning clients. Romantic park dates, no dogs required. Discreet afternoon companionship. Wine and cheese in secluded locations. Perfect for those seeking exercise without the commitment of pet ownership. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, 1:35 p.m., $200 per session. Contact Emily at Paws and Paths for details. I included her business phone number, the one she'd set up specifically for the dog walking service, the one that rang straight to her personal cell. The second advertisement was more subtle. I posted it to the Park District's community board, the one that actual dog owners use to find services and share recommendations. Warning: fake dog walking service. Has anyone else noticed dog walkers in Riverside Park without any actual dogs? Spotted multiple times near the creek trails, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. Suspicious activity. Please report to park rangers if you see anything unusual. The third one I posted to a local business review site, creating a fake account under the name Concerned Pet Owner. 1 star. Hired Paws and Paths for dog walking services. Emily showed up without any equipment, no leash, no proper training certification. When I asked about her experience, she seemed confused. Later saw her in the park with a man, no dogs in sight, having what looked like a date. Very unprofessional. Would not recommend. I posted variations of these across dozens of platforms over the next 48 hours. Some were subtle, some were explicit. All of them included just enough truth to be damaging and just enough suggestion to raise questions. By Friday afternoon, Emily's business phone was ringing constantly. I knew because I could hear it from the kitchen while she was upstairs getting ready for work. She'd stopped answering after the first few calls. By Saturday, the first email arrived. Someone from the Park District asking about her business license and whether she had proper insurance for commercial activities in public parks. By Sunday, she'd taken down her business website. The coffee maker gurgled in the pre-dawn darkness as I checked my phone. 3 more inquiries had come through the email account I'd set up, Paws and Paths, concerned@gmail.com, overnight. One from a woman asking if Emily's business was legitimate because she'd seen conflicting information online. Another from someone who'd spotted the flyers I'd posted near the park entrance warning about unlicensed dog walking services operating in the area. The third was from the Parks and Recreation Department itself. I deleted them all without responding. The damage was already spreading on its own. Emily's footsteps creaked overhead. I glanced at the clock. 5:47 a.m. She was up earlier than usual. Through the kitchen ceiling, I could hear her moving around the bedroom with unusual urgency, drawers opening and closing, her voice muffled as she spoke on the phone. I poured my coffee and waited. She appeared 10 minutes later, already dressed in one of her new outfits, tailored pants, and a silk blouse that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Her makeup was perfect despite the early hour. She didn't look at me as she grabbed her purse from the counter. "You're leaving early," I said. "Meeting before work." She was checking her phone, fingers moving rapidly across the screen. "Don't wait up tonight. Team dinner for the Riverside account." "On a Wednesday?" "Corporate culture, David. You wouldn't understand." She finally glanced up, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. A tightness around her eyes, a tension in her jaw. "Have you been online this morning?" I took a slow sip of coffee. "Checking email. Why?" "Someone's been posting things about local businesses, fake reviews, complaints." She was watching me carefully now. Weird coincidence. What kind of businesses? Just small businesses, service providers. She shifted her weight and her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down at it, and color drained from her face. I have to go. She was out the door before I could respond. I waited until her car pulled out of the driveway, then opened my laptop. The neighborhood Facebook group had been busy overnight. Someone had shared one of my flyers, the one asking if anyone had actually seen dogs being walked by Paws and Paths dog walking services, despite the business claiming to operate daily in Riverside Park. 34 comments and counting. Never seen them with any dogs, one person wrote. Is this even a real business? Asked another. I called the number on their website and it went to voicemail. Very unprofessional. The best comment came from someone named Patricia Wolf. I'm a dog trainer and I've never heard of this company. No insurance information listed anywhere, no certifications. If they're operating commercially in the park, they need proper licensing. I hadn't written that. Patricia was doing my work for me. My phone rang. James Brennan, my attorney. Morning, David. Quick question. Did you post advertisements for your wife's dog walking business? I set down my coffee cup. Why? Because I got a call from opposing counsel this morning. Emily hired someone. Patricia Vance, family law specialist out of Columbus. She's asking about harassment and defamation. My pulse quickened, but I kept my voice steady. I posted some flyers in the park asking if anyone had seen her walking dogs. Public questions about a business operating in a public space. Is that illegal? Not illegal, no. But David, if you're planning something, I'm documenting a fraudulent business being used as a cover for an affair. That's all. A pause on the other end. Emily doesn't know you know yet, does she? No. She's gonna figure it out soon. The flyers, the questions, the timing. She's not stupid. I know. What's your end game here? I watched steam rise from my coffee. Through the window, I could see the Johnsons walking their actual dog, a golden retriever named Bailey. They waved. I waved back. I want her to understand what it feels like, I said. To build something and watch it fall apart. To have people question your integrity. To realize that the life you thought you were creating was built on lies. That's not a legal strategy, David. No, but it's satisfying. Another pause. Just be careful. Don't give her ammunition for a harassment claim. And for God's sake, don't do anything that could affect custody. After we hung up, I got ready for work. I had a full schedule at the clinic. 2 space surgeries, a dental cleaning, and a consultation for a Labrador with hip dysplasia. Normal things. Honest work. My phone buzzed as I was grabbing my keys. A text from an unknown number. I know what you're doing. I stared at the message. Then another came through. We need to talk. Tonight. 7 p.m. Riverside Park, North Entrance. Come alone. Not Emily's number. I checked the area code, local, but not one I recognized. A third message. If you care about your daughter, you'll be there. My hands tightened around the phone. Using Lily as leverage was a mistake, a serious mistake. I forwarded the screenshots to James, then replied with a single word. Fine. The clinic was mercifully busy. Mrs. Patterson brought in her cat for a follow-up exam. The Labrador's owner cried when I explained the surgery options, but thanked me for being honest about the costs and recovery time. A kid brought in a hamster he'd found in his backyard, convinced it was lost. I gently explained it was probably wild and we should release it back outside. Normal people, normal problems, normal solutions. I didn't check my phone until lunch. 17 new comments on the Facebook post about paws and paths. The Parks Department had responded officially, stating they had no record of a licensed commercial dog walking service operating under that name and encouraging residents to verify business credentials before hiring pet care providers. Emily's website was completely down now. The Yelp page I'd created, listing her business but with a single one-star review asking where all the dogs were, had 3 new reviews. All 1 star. None of them written by me. Hired them for a week, never saw them with my dog, one claimed. Very unprofessional. Wouldn't recommend, said another. People were piling on, inventing their own complaints about a service they'd never used. The internet's natural tendency toward mob mentality was doing my work for me. I felt a grim satisfaction, followed immediately by a wave of something else. Not quite guilt. More like recognition of how far I'd already gone, how much further I was apparently willing to go. My phone buzzed. Emily. Did you do this? I stared at the message. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. The flyers, the reviews, the Facebook posts. Was it you? I could deny it. Play innocent. But what was the point? She knew. And if she knew, that meant the mystery texter who wanted to meet tonight probably knew too. I typed, "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" The 3 dots pulsed for a long time. Then, find out what? About your dog walking business, about Justin, about all of it. Nothing for 2 minutes. Then, we're not doing this over text. Tonight. We'll talk tonight. Can't. I have plans at 7. Cancel them? No. David, I'm serious. We need to talk. So talk. Another long pause. When her response came, it was just 2 words. I'm sorry. I put the phone face down on my desk and went back to work. At 6:45 p.m., I pulled into the north parking lot of Riverside Park. The sun was setting, casting long shadows through the trees. A few joggers passed by. A couple walked their dog, an actual dog, a beagle mix, along the main path. I sat in my truck and waited. At 6:58, a silver Audi pulled in 3 spaces away. I recognized it immediately. Justin Hartwell stepped out, adjusting his expensive watch, looking around the parking lot with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences for anything in his life. He saw my truck and walked over. I rolled down my window. David. He said my name like we were old friends. Thanks for coming. You threatened my daughter. I didn't threaten anyone. I said if you care about her, you'd be here. Because what you're doing, this vendetta against Emily, it's going to hurt Lily more than anyone. What I'm doing? The flyers, the fake reviews, the harassment. He leaned against my truck, casual as anything. Emily's a wreck. She can barely focus at work. This promotion, this opportunity. You're sabotaging her future because you're bitter about her having an affair with her boss? Yeah, I'm pretty bitter about that. His expression didn't change. Emily told me you knew. Look, I get it. You're angry. But this isn't the way to handle it. What is the way, Justin? Letting her keep lying? Letting her use a fake business as a cover while she plans to leave me and take my daughter every other weekend? Now his expression shifted. Surprise, quickly masked. You heard that. I heard everything. The morning air had that crisp October bite that made my fingers numb as I drove toward Riverside Park. Justin's text had specified the north parking lot at 8 a.m. I'd arrived 20 minutes early, parked where I could watch the entrance, and waited. My phone sat on the passenger seat, recording app ready. James had been explicit about this. Document everything, every word, every threat. especially the threats. At 7:58, a black Audi pulled into the lot. Justin emerged wearing what probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Charcoal wool coat, leather gloves, the kind of casual wealth that announced itself quietly. He was taller than I'd expected from my surveillance photos, maybe 6'2", with the build of someone who had a personal trainer and the time to use them. I grabbed my phone and got out. He spotted me immediately, his expression shifting from corporate confidence to something harder. We met in the middle of the parking lot, our breath creating small clouds in the cold air. David. He didn't offer his hand. Justin. I appreciate you coming. His voice had that smooth quality of someone who'd spent years in boardrooms, negotiating deals. I think we can resolve this situation like reasonable adults. I pressed record in my pocket. Which situation? The one where you're sleeping with my wife, or the one where you're paying her to pretend she has a dog walking business so you can have afternoon dates in this park? A muscle twitched in his jaw. Emily and I have developed a connection, a genuine connection. What you're doing, this petty revenge campaign, it's only going to hurt Lily. Don't. The word came out sharper than I intended. Don't you dare use my daughter's name. She's going to be affected by all of this. The divorce, the custody arrangement. The custody arrangement that my wife planned while I was in surgery saving a retriever's life? The one where she only wants Lily every other weekend so she has more time for you? His eyes widened slightly. Good. He hadn't known I'd overheard that conversation. Emily loves Lily, he said, recovering. She's just been honest about the realities of her career demands. That's more than most parents. She created a fake business to hide an affair. That's not honesty. That's fraud. The dog walking service was... He stopped, seemed to recalculate. Look, I understand you're hurt, but what you've done, posting those advertisements, destroying her reputation in the community, that crosses a line. Which line? The one you crossed when you started sleeping with a married woman? Or the one Emily crossed when she took money from you for fake services? I was supporting her entrepreneurial spirit. I actually laughed. The sound echoed across the empty parking lot. You were paying for access, $200 per walk. How many walks, Justin? 30? 40? That's $8,000 minimum. For what? Picnics in the woods? Romantic strolls where the only thing on a leash was her conscience? His face flushed. This conversation is pointless. I came here to offer you a solution, a way to end this cleanly. I'm listening. Stop the online campaign, delete the posts, the reviews, all of it. In exchange, Emily will agree to a fair custody arrangement. 60-40, alternating holidays. You keep the house. And you get Emily. Emily makes her own choices. Right. The same choices that led her to lie to me for 4 months, to create an entire fake business, to plan abandoning our daughter for career advancement and afternoon sex in the park. You're being crude. I'm being accurate. I pulled out my phone, stopped the recording, and switched to my photo gallery. Want to see accurate? Here's you and Emily on September 23rd. That's a Tuesday, by the way. The day she told me she had 3 new clients and would be walking dogs until 5. No dogs in this picture, though. Just wine and cheese on a blanket. I swiped. September 30th. Another Tuesday. She said she was building her client base. Looks like the only thing she was building was a relationship with you. His hand moved toward the phone, but I stepped back. October 7th. October 14th. Yesterday. All during business hours. All while I was working to pay for our daughter's orthodontist appointments and the roof repair and the groceries. All while she was depositing your payments into an account I didn't even know existed. Those photos prove nothing illegal. They prove she lied. Repeatedly. Systematically. They prove you paid her for services she never rendered. They prove this whole dog-walking business was a cover for an affair. I pocketed the phone. My attorney finds them very interesting, especially the Venmo transactions with notes like, "Great walk today," and "Best session yet." Justin's composure cracked slightly. "What do you want?" "I want my wife to stop lying. I want her to stop using a fake business as cover for adultery. I want her to face consequences for her choices. The posts you made, they're defamatory. She could sue." "For what? Telling the truth?" "Every word in those advertisements was accurate. She does claim to run a dog walking service. She does charge $200 per session. She has been meeting clients in this park. The only lie was hers." "You implied services she doesn't provide?" "I implied she doesn't walk dogs, which she doesn't, because she only has one client, and he doesn't own a dog. That's not defamation. That's disclosure." A park ranger's truck pulled into the lot. Justin tensed, watching as the ranger, a woman in her 50s with gray hair pulled back, parked and approached us. "Morning, gentlemen." Her name tag read, Phyllis Grant. "Everything okay here?" "Fine," Justin said quickly. "Just talking." Phyllis looked at me, then back at Justin. Recognition dawned on her face. "Wait. You're the couple from the dog-walking business, aren't you? The one everyone's been talking about." Justin's face went pale. "Not me," I said. "That would be him and my wife. Emily Thornton? Auburn hair, usually here on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons?" "Oh." Phyllis's expression shifted from friendly to uncomfortable. "Oh, I've seen you two around. You usually head toward the North Trails." She paused. "I've been meaning to ask, where are the dogs? Park policy requires all pets to be leashed and registered." "There are no dogs," I said. "Never were. The dog-walking business was fictional. Just two people meeting for romantic walks and calling it work." Phyllis looked at Justin with obvious distaste. Well, that's disappointing. We've had several people ask about the missing dogs, concerned citizens who saw the posts online and worried about animal welfare." "There's no welfare issue," Justin said tightly, "because there are no animals." "Right. Just a fake business and a real affair." Phyllis pulled out a notepad. "I'll need to file a report about this. We've had multiple inquiries, and policy requires documentation when there's community concern about park activities." "A report?" Justin's voice rose slightly. "For what?" "Fraudulent business practices on park grounds, for one. If someone's been charging fees for services not rendered while using park facilities, that's a violation of our commercial use policies. You need a permit for business activities." I hadn't even thought of that angle. "We weren't conducting business," Justin said. "We were just walking. Except one of you was paying the other $200 per walk. That's a commercial transaction." Phyllis made a note. "I'll need both your names and contact information." Justin looked like he wanted to argue, but I could see him calculating the optics. A park ranger's report would be public record. Another document trail. He provided his information with visible reluctance. "And the woman you've been meeting?" Phyllis asked. "Emily Thornton? I'll need to speak with her too." "She's my wife," I said. "Soon-to-be ex-wife. I can provide her contact information." Phyllis took down Emily's details, then looked between us. I've worked in this park for 18 years, seen a lot of things, but this is a first. She shook her head. Fake dog walking business. People are going to be talking about this for months. That was exactly what I'd counted on. After Phyllis left, Justin turned to me with barely controlled fury. You planned this. The timing. The location. You chose the location. You demanded this meeting. You knew the Rangers would. I knew that public parks have policies. I knew that fake businesses violate those policies. I knew that you and Emily have been using park facilities for months without proper permits. I met his eyes. I know a lot of things now, Justin, and I'm going to make sure everyone else does too. This isn't over. You're right, it's not. Because tomorrow, Emily's going to get a call from Ranger Grant about that report. And the week after that, she's going to get served with divorce papers that include every photo, every Venmo transaction, every lie. And the week after that, everyone in her professional network is going to know exactly what kind of entrepreneurial spirit she really has. I walked back toward my truck, leaving him standing in the parking lot. My hands were shaking, adrenaline finally catching up with the confrontation, but I felt clearer than I had in weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. I screenshot it, forwarded it to James with the recording from this morning, and drove to work. The Andersons' terrier needed her vaccinations at 9, and I'd never missed an appointment yet. The threatening text glowed on my phone screen. You're going to regret this. I stared at it for a full minute before forwarding it to James Brennan. His reply came within seconds. Save everything. Don't respond. Coming from a different number than Justin's? I checked. He was right. Justin's number ended in 4892. This one ended in 7731. Emily. She must have gotten a burner phone. The realization settled over me like cold water. She was escalating, getting smarter. Or maybe she'd always been this smart, and I'd just been too trusting to notice. I was still sitting in my truck outside Riverside Park, watching Justin's BMW disappear down the access road. Ranger Grant had taken her report and left 20 minutes ago, promising to follow up with the city attorney's office about the fraudulent business license. The park was nearly empty now, just a few joggers on the main trail and an elderly couple feeding ducks by the pond. My phone buzzed again. Emily this time from her regular number. Where are you? We need to talk. Now. I started the engine. It was 4:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Normally, I'd still be at the clinic, finishing up the last appointments of the day. But I'd blocked off my afternoon schedule, telling my receptionist I had personal business to handle. She hadn't asked questions. After 15 years working together, Patricia knew when to give me space. The drive home took 12 minutes. Emily's car was already in the driveway when I pulled up. Her white Lexus, the one she'd leased 3 months ago to match her new position. I'd thought it was excessive then. Now I wondered if Justin had helped her pick it out. She was waiting in the kitchen, still in her work clothes. Charcoal suit, silk blouse, heels that probably cost more than my monthly student loan payment. Her makeup was perfect, not a hair out of place, but I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers drummed against the granite countertop. Where were you? She asked before I'd even closed the door. Work ran late. The lie came easily now. I'd learned from the best. Really, because I called the clinic. Patricia said you'd left it too. I set my keys on the counter, keeping my expression neutral. I had errands. What kind of errands? The kind that are none of your business. Her eyes narrowed. Don't play games with me, David. I know what you've been doing. Do you? The fake reviews, the advertisements, the park ranger showing up today asking about my business license. Her voice was rising now, losing that corporate polish. You're sabotaging me. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. Am I? Or am I just exposing what was already there? You have no right. I have every right. You're my wife. Or did you forget that part when you started collecting $200 per session from your boyfriend? The color drained from her face. For just a moment, I saw something flicker across her features. Fear, maybe, or shame. But it vanished quickly, replaced by cold anger. You've been spying on me. I've been paying attention. There's a difference. She grabbed her purse from the counter, fumbling inside. For a second, I thought she was reaching for her phone, but instead she pulled out a folded piece of paper. She slammed it down between us. I was going to wait until after my bonus cleared, she said, but you forced my hand. I didn't need to unfold it to know what it was. Divorce papers, preliminary filing probably, drafted by whatever attorney she'd already consulted. My hand stayed steady as I picked it up, scanned the contents. Irreconcilable differences. Division of assets. Custody arrangement. Alternating weekends for the non-custodial parent. You want every other weekend with Lily, I said quietly. I have a demanding career. You work with animals. Your schedule is more flexible. I work with animals? I looked up at her. That's what you're going with? It's the truth. The truth is you're planning to abandon your daughter so you can play house with Justin Hartwell. Her hand cracked across my face before I saw it coming. The slap echoed in the kitchen, sharp and final. We stood there, both breathing hard. My cheek burned. Her hand was still raised, trembling. Don't you dare, she whispered. Don't you dare judge me. I'm not judging you, Emily. I'm just finally seeing you clearly. She lowered her hand, smoothing down her suit jacket. When she spoke again, her voice was back under control, cold and professional. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I'll come by this weekend to get some things. I suggest you find yourself a lawyer. Already have one. That stopped her. What? James Brennan, downtown. He's been representing me for 2 weeks now. I pulled out my own phone, opened the folder I'd prepared. I have documentation of everything, Emily. The fake business, the payments from Justin, the affair, the text messages, the park meetings, all of it. Her face went white. You can't. I can, and I will. I forwarded the folder to her email as she watched. That's just a preview. My attorney has the originals, along with statements from Ranger Grant about your fraudulent business operation. She stared at her phone as the email came through, her fingers frozen over the screen. This is blackmail. No, this is evidence. There's a difference. You bastard. But there was no heat in it anymore, just hollow shock. I want full custody of Lily, I said. You can have reasonable visitation. Actual reasonable visitation, not every other weekend while you build your new life. I want the house. You can keep your Lexus and your designer wardrobe and whatever else Justin's been buying you. I haven't. Don't. My voice came out harder than I intended. Don't insult both of us by lying anymore. She closed her eyes, and for just a moment she looked like the woman I'd married 11 years ago. Younger, uncertain, almost vulnerable. Then she opened them, and that woman was gone. Fine, she said. Have your attorney send the proposal to mine. Who's yours? Valerie Winters. She's with... I know who she is. Everyone knew Valerie Winters. Shark in a pencil skirt, specialized in high-asset divorces. Of course, Emily had already retained her, probably weeks ago, maybe months. While I'd been worrying about Lily's orthodontist bills and whether we could afford to fix the roof before winter, Emily picked up her purse, headed for the door. She paused with her hand on the knob, her back to me. "I did love you," she said quietly. "Once." "I know. But people change. They grow apart." "They do," I agreed. "But they don't usually charge their affair partners $200 per session and call it a dog-walking business." Her shoulders stiffened. She opened the door without looking back. "Emily," I called out. She stopped but didn't turn around. "That text you sent. From the burner phone. You're going to regret this." I kept my voice level. "Forward any more threats and I'll add harassment to the documentation. Brennan's already saved it." She turned then, confusion crossing her face. "What text? What burner phone?" "The one you sent half an hour ago." "David, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a burner phone." We stared at each other across the kitchen. And despite everything, despite the lies and the affair and the fake business and the divorce papers, I believed her. If Emily hadn't sent that text, then who had? The divorce was finalized on a gray Tuesday in February, 4 months after that confrontation in our kitchen. Emily signed the papers in her attorney's office. I signed them in mine. We didn't speak. The settlement was cleaner than it had any right to be. I got full custody of Lily, the house, and my self-respect. Emily got her career, her Lexus, and every other weekend with our daughter, though she rarely used all her visitation time. Justin Hartwell, it turned out, wasn't particularly interested in playing stepfather to a 12-year-old with braces and strong opinions. The threatening text remained a mystery. It never repeated, and neither Emily nor Justin ever admitted to sending it. James thought maybe it was a wrong number, some coincidence of timing that had seemed sinister in the moment. I had my doubts, but without evidence, there was nothing to pursue. Emily's promotion evaporated 3 weeks after Ranger Grant's report went public. The Parks Department investigation revealed not just the fraudulent business license, but also that Justin had been approving Emily's expense reports for client development lunches that never happened. The company conducted an internal audit. Justin was asked to resign. Emily was demoted back to her previous position and transferred to the Cincinnati office. She moved in March. Lily cried for 2 days, then adapted the way kids do, faster and more completely than adults ever manage. The fake advertisements I'd posted were taken down, one by one, though screenshots lived on in various corners of the internet. Someone had created a Reddit thread about the whole situation, the dog walking affair, that got picked up by a few relationship advice podcasters. Emily's name was never mentioned, but anyone in our social circle knew exactly who it was about. I felt guilty about that for a while. Not about exposing the affair, but about the public humiliation. Then I'd remember the sound of Emily's laugh in that clearing, the casual way she'd discussed taking Lily every other weekend like she was negotiating a timeshare, and the guilt would fade. Lily and I fell into new routines. Breakfast together every morning, homework at the kitchen table while I caught up on patient files. Weekend trips to the actual dog park, where we'd finally gotten her that golden retriever she'd been asking for since she was 6. She named him Justice, which I thought was a little on the nose, but 12-year-olds aren't known for subtlety. Emily called every Sunday at 7 p.m. Sometimes Lily talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. I never asked what they discussed. That was their relationship to rebuild or not, And I'd learned the hard way that you can't force people to be who you need them to be. On a warm evening in May, almost 8 months after I'd first followed Emily to Riverside Park, I took Justice for a walk along those same trails. The clearing where she'd met Justin was overgrown now, nature reclaiming the space. The bench was still there, but someone had carved new graffiti into it. Trust is earned, not assumed. I stood there for a while, watching the sunset paint the creek gold and orange, and thought about the man I'd been a year ago. Trusting. Maybe naive. Certainly blind to what was happening in my own marriage. I wasn't that man anymore. But I wasn't bitter either. Bitterness required energy I didn't want to spend. Instead, I'd learned something more valuable. That love without honesty is just comfortable fiction, and that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is refuse to be someone's supporting character in the story they're telling themselves. Lily was waiting when I got home. Her math homework spread across the kitchen table. Justice bounded over to her, tail wagging, and she laughed. That pure, unself-conscious sound that reminded me why I'd fought so hard for this. "Dad," she said, looking up from her equations. "Mom called. She wants to know if I can spend spring break with her in Cincinnati." "What did you tell her?" "That I'd think about it." She chewed her pencil. "Is that okay?" "Of course. It's your choice, sweetheart." She nodded, went back to her homework. After a moment, she added quietly, "I'm glad we have Justice now, and that you're here for dinner every night." "Me too, kid." That night, after Lily went to bed, I sat on the back porch with a beer and watched fireflies drift across the yard. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca at the clinic about tomorrow's surgery schedule. Normal things. Honest work. A life built on truth instead of convenient fictions. I'd learned that you can't control who people choose to become, but you can control who you refuse to let them turn you into. Emily had made her choices. I'd made mine. And somewhere in the wreckage of what we'd been, I'd found something more valuable than the marriage I'd lost. The certainty that I could trust myself to see clearly, even when the truth was painful. The fake dog walking business was gone. The affair was over. The marriage was finished. But I was still here. So was Lily. So was Justice, snoring softly at my feet. And that, I'd discovered, was more than enough. The fireflies continued their dance in the darkness, each one a small light against the night. Temporary, fragile, but undeniably real. I finished my beer and went inside, locking the door behind me on a chapter that was finally, definitively closed.